The central question, and it will be throughout the year, about American history is so relevant today, and that is, who are we? People talk about who we are at our foundation and how we developed, and it comes to the core of debates that happen today, and it's captured in the Make America Great Again idea. It goes beyond that to the Puritan era, where we were told we are a shining city upon a hill. We're an example from the whole world to follow. And we've carried that forward with today. America is not a country that has always thought, yeah, we're just one of the countries in the world. We actually, much to the disappointment of other countries sometimes, believe that we're extra special. It goes back to the Puritan era and the notion of us being a city on a hill. Think of it like a lighthouse. I know it's mixing the illustration, but a lighthouse shining to everybody around. I'm going to play some clips showing our past presidents and leaders talking about this idea of a city on a hill, the example that's at the core of this debate.
But I have been guided by the standard John Winthrop set before his shipmates on the flagship Arabella 331 years ago, as they too faced the task of building a new government on a perilous frontier. We must always consider, he said, that we shall be as a city upon a hill. The eyes of all people are upon us. Today, the eyes of all people are truly upon us, and our governments in every branch, at every level, national, state and local, must be as a city upon a hill, constructed and inhabited by men aware of their great trusts and their great responsibilities. For we are setting out upon a voyage in 1961, no less hazardous than that undertaken by the Arabella in 1630. We are committing ourselves to tasks of statecraft no less awesome than that of governing the Massachusetts Bay Colony, beset as it was by terror without and disorder within. History will not judge our endeavors, and a government cannot be selected merely on the basis of color or creed or party affiliation. Neither will competence and loyalty and stature, while essential to the utmost, suffice in times such as these. For of those to whom much is given, much is required. And when at some future date the high court of history sits in judgment on each one of us, recording whether in our brief span of service we fulfilled our responsibilities to the state,
So that was the Democrat Kennedy speaking about his vision of a city on a hill. But just so you see, this is not a political party issue at all. Here's Reagan.
The shining city upon a hill. The phrase comes from John Winthrop, who wrote it to describe the America he imagined. What he imagined was important because he was an early pilgrim, an early freedom man. He journeyed here on what today we'd call a little wooden boat. And like the other pilgrims, he was looking for a home that would be free. I've spoken of the shining city all my political life, but I don't know if I ever quite communicated what I saw when I said it. But in my mind, it was a tall, proud city built on rocks stronger than oceans, windswept, God-blessed, and teeming with people of all kinds living in harmony and peace. A city with free ports that hummed with commerce and creativity. And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here. That's how I saw it and see it still. And how stands the city on this winter night? More prosperous, more secure, and happier than it was 8 years ago. But more than that, after 200 years, 2 centuries, she still stands strong and true on the granite ridge, and her glow is held steady no matter what storm. And she's still a beacon, still a magnet for all who must have freedom, for all the pilgrims from all the lost places who are hurtling through the darkness toward home.
Now, Reagan was, of course, a Republican, so it's not a political thing. Now, this next clip is going to be, this is Ted Cruz you're looking at here. He was a presidential candidate in the run-up to the election that Trump eventually won. So he's a Republican. And then it's going to go back this clip and give you a little more context on the city on a hill. And again, I know those are kind of longer speeches, but I want you to understand how critical this is. This is the question of who are we as a country, and do we mythologize ourselves? And it gets back into the issue of how we approach teaching American history. Are we simply those shining example stories, or are we other stories that are more complex at who we stand for?
Ted Cruz, in becoming the first Republican presidential hopeful to announce his candidacy, invoked a shining city on a hill. It's a reference that conjures, particularly for Republicans, the optimism of Ronald Reagan and the notion of American exceptionalism.
I've spoken of the shining city all my political life.
In this one speech, Mr. Cruz spoke of the shining city not once but twice.
And then the American exceptionalism that has made this nation a clarion voice for freedom in the world, a shining city on a hill.
From where did this image originate? The year was 1630. Puritan leader and future governor John Winthrop delivered a speech while crossing the Atlantic to found the Massachusetts Bay Colony. He told the pilgrims aboard his ship they must be an example to the world.
We must consider that we shall be a city upon a hill, the eyes of all people upon us.
It was an allusion to a New Testament verse where Jesus tells his followers, "Ye are the light of the world. A city that is set on a hill cannot be hid." Is it just Republicans who use it? No.
We shall be as a city upon a hill.
In 1961, a newly elected President John F. Kennedy referenced John Winthrop and his pilgrims, saying,
They too face the task of building a new government on a perilous frontier.
President Bill Clinton, speaking at a predominantly black church of his second-term hope to improve race relations and turn around a crime and poverty-ridden Washington, D.C.
I hope one of the gifts that I and our administration can leave is a national capital that is a shining city on a hill for all America.
As a rhetorical device, the city on a hill is imagined differently by different presidents.
And if there had to be city walls, the walls had doors, and the doors were open to anyone with the will and the heart to get here.
And presidential aspirants. In Senator Cruz's city on a hill,
Instead of the lawlessness and the president's unconstitutional executive amnesty, imagine a president that finally secures the borders.
their goals may differ, but all are hopeful about the city, i.e. America, being a role model. The remarkable thing, writes historian Francis Fitzgerald, is that 4 centuries after Winthrop's speech, Americans were still self-consciously building cities on a hill. That's the short answer.
Some have questioned who we are as a nation. What do we stand for? Are they wrong? Are we self-deceived, or do they misunderstand us? Do people outside of America not understand this is a World War II image, anti-American image? But if you look at those depictions, I mean, they're not inaccurate in some ways, but that's not who we are. That's not our story, is it? We're not the KKK, and you'll see, by the way, clear racism in this propaganda piece, but you see the gangster with the right arm, money hungry in the left arm. Oh, that all kind of hurts a little bit, right? Because they don't understand who we really are. So what does it mean to be an American? Are we still a shining city upon the hill? What does it mean today to you? What do we believe? What do we stand for? Is the premise even misguided? Because it assumes we must be exceptional, that there is an American core set of beliefs. Can these beliefs change over time? I mean, could we be a nation that was founded on Christian values, Judeo-Christian values, which is mostly true, and be a different kind of nation 200 years later? Is that acceptable? Or is the city on a hill locked into whatever the viewpoint was at the time of our founding fathers? Again, you're not going to get the answers from me in this class. You're going to get the complexity of the questions as you understand who we are as a country, and it'll help you understand the debates that rage all around you today.